Okay, finally we're back to our regularly scheduled morning Mishlei shiur. We are up to Mishlei Yud Daled Yud Ches 14:18. Nachalu Pisaim Ivelas Va'arumim Yachtiru Das. So how would you translate this? And what I'm curious about whether you'll make the same not mistake, but whether you'll make the same I guess whatever. Whether you'll do what I did. I did not I learned something today. But go ahead.
I forgot how we translate pesi.
Yeah. And how do you translate pesi?
One who's seduced by the yetzer.
Okay, yeah, that's how I'll do it. Yeah. For translation purposes, I prefer naive simpleton. And I still go back and forth. I don't know whether I like the word simpleton. That's what our school likes using, because simpleton does imply that they have less intelligence. And Rבינו Yona, I actually went through and I taught. We did a Mishlei 14:15 recently. 14:15 is the one that defines pesi. Pesi yamin l'chol davar va'arum yavin l'ashuro. So I used to put the heaviest on the pesi, it being like a Mishleic defect, which it is. But Rבינו Yona, when I went over Rבינו Yona again, actually, when I went over Rבינו Yona on, I'm going to go ahead and just read. I'm going to just read this Rבינו Yona. Ordinarily, like we would take up the question of who the pesi is, but since we just did this, then I don't feel any problem in like just reviewing the definition from earlier. Rבינו Yona does say in Mishlei 1:22. These are people who are weak-minded, and they are seduced by the words of the enticers and people who lead them astray. Included in them are people who have messed up ideas, and people who desire confounds them and leads them astray, leads their path astray. You'll find people who think about something that they desire, that it is good and proper, and they won't see any liability for their desire. All of this is due to their the weakness of their intellect, and the again weakness of their faculties of understanding. Al-Kain, therefore, timshachim ta'avasam elaha v'hima atsemes einehem. Therefore, their taiva draws them towards it and blinds their eyes. V'gam ele hanashim, and this is the part that gets a little confusing. V'gam ele hanashim, also these people, im lo yamshilu ta'avasam, if their taivas did not dominate them, lo ya'avu. Oh, see, this is a different girsa than the correct one. I think the correct girsa does not have a vav. Lo ya'avu lihim. Okay, it gets to the same point. If their taiva did not dominate them, and if they did not like give in to being drawn after it, lo haya mishabeshes datam, then their minds would not be confused. V'alkain, therefore, Amru Chazal, kol hamispata b'yitzor nofa b'kenom. Therefore, this is what Isaac was referencing. Chazal say anyone who is seduced by his own yetzer falls into Gehenom. Shnemar says ve'elecha tishukaso ve'ata timshal bo. Towards you is its desire, and you may conquer it. Ki yetzer lef adam ra, because the yetzer of man's heart is evil. V'shol devarim mimenu, and it demands things from him. Umishtokik shitin lo kol asher yishalu einav, and it yearns for man to give it everything that its eyes request. And the yetzer does not have the power to fulfill this desire without the consent of the rational soul and its thoughts, meaning that you will corrupt mind when you give into your desire, because that's the only way you'll do it. That is what it means when it says you may conquer it. Therefore, the nefesh, meaning the rational soul, is punished when it gives into taiva. Okay, so the reason why I read the whole thing, in addition to reviewing, is to show that it's not so clear. Are these people, are pesayim, like, is their faculty standing weaker and like their intellects are weak, or is the primary problem that their taiva, dominates them? On the one hand, he said that they're chalushe hadas, and anashim she'atavim where was it? Chulshas sichlam v'dalu kochos binasam. That their intellects are weak. On the other hand, he says that if they didn't give into the consent to following their yetzer, then their minds would not be messed up. So this is a long-winded way of saying I don't know how I feel about the word simpleton. Simpleton in English implies lack of intelligence. But
I think it's not a lack of IQ.
Yeah, right.
I think it sounds to me like it's someone who, it's in the mashal of the elephant and the rider.
Yeah.
It's someone whose rider does not have much control.
Right. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And especially if we remember the fact that these Mishlei archetypes can be as I always say, that there's a Tefilah pesi within all of us. That you can be someone who's very, very smart in certain areas, but let's say when it comes to romance, then you're a hopeless simpleton, or when it comes to like business, then you're a pesi, And I think that I think supports the idea that it's not a lack in IQ. Yeah, but I still don't have one English term that conveys. I think naive you have to say, because they do seduced by their yetzer and they get seduced by other people, but I don't have one word that like fully captures the pesi.
Yeah.
Like a person of seducible intellect. Like
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, truthfully, gullible is the best English word, but gullible definitely implies other people tricking you, which is why I don't like it. And gullible also, I always think, whenever I hear the word gullible, I think of like either scams or jokes, and like I think that doesn't convey the connotation of like gullible in their own self-initiated decision making,
What about like weak-willed?
Yeah, see, but that implies that the opposite of pesi is strong-willed as opposed to arum, cunning, So I don't want to have that either, Whereas I think cunning is a good opposite to simpleton,
Yeah, I think English doesn't really have a term for someone whose decision-making faculty is strong. Like,
yeah, right. You're right. Yeah.
Like this is not a concept with a term in English.
Right. Yep. Okay, so now we've go ahead, David.
Yeah. Which I think that's very interesting that there isn't a term for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's certainly not for want of specimens, like it's due to want of diagnosticians, that people can't diagnose it. Yeah. Okay, so now that we spent all this time with pesi, which is we're going to get there anyway, so I don't mind doing that. So nachlu psaim ivelas varumim yachtuda. So how would you translate the rest?
So the pesi, the naive simpletons inherit foolishness.
Yep.
And cunning people is so. I know the root of the word is to crown.
Yeah. Okay. So I also don't. I hesitate about yachtiru because I think yachtir is to crown someone else. It's like hifil. Like you're machtir them. So cunning people, I would say crown with knowledge, but that sounds weird because it seems like it should say that they are crowned with knowledge. So we'll keep this ambiguous. Now the thing that today was not that point. Okay, so I looked up. I was like 100% sure that yachtur means to crown. Okay, so and I think that is how many people take it. All right, but if you look at the BDB, it says surround. Okay, or await, remain, perhaps surround expectantly. And then it says, you don't usually do this, but I'm going to read through the examples. So in Shoftim 20:43, surrounding an enemy. Okay, same thing in Psalms 22:13. In Job, it means to wait. In Yachtiru Tzadikim, it means to throw out crowns, I guess to distribute crowns. Now, here's the part that I learned. It says, i.e. appears with crowns, and then it's I forgot what I'm just gonna look this up on the BDB. By the way, there's a trick you can do on the BDB. I don't know if you're aware of this. So when you click on the BDB dictionary, obviously it takes you there. But then if you hover over the abbreviations, it shows up what it means. So denominative, not that we know what denominative means, but I think it was derived from keter. but this very late, only in EST, in Esther. Okay, so that was the thing I didn't know. Okay, that again, I don't know if this is a matter of dispute, but that the real meaning is to surround, and then crown came from surround. Okay, figurative for triumph because of me. Franz Delischt and Gesenius say throw it as a crown, make knowledge their crown. Oh, so that's how they translate ours. Denominative from crown, but ver was VSU. Vide su. Oh, okay. I don't know where to look this up. Yeah. Okay. Or encompass knowledge. So let's just actually that's an interesting one. Okay. So let's actually acknowledge this in our translation here. So cunning people.
Oh, vide supra means the above.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I don't know where the above is though. Crowning knowledge, crown others with knowledge. Are crowned with knowledge, and then are surrounded by knowledge. Okay, those are our four. I think some. I don't know. Maybe there's more than that, but those are four options.
Yeah. It's definitely the just grammatically.
Yeah.
It's not that it can't be that the cunning people crown Das, right?
I don't think so, but I'm not sure why.
Yeah,
I feel like because it would have a bet. Maybe I don't know if that's true, but
no,
yeah.
I'm saying where like the direction is the other way. You know what I mean?
Oh, you mean Das? What Das crowns them?
No, where the subject and the object are reversed.
Yeah, can you tell me what that means in particular?
Like that Das is crowned by cunning people. That doesn't really make very much sense.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
Sadigon in his translation says, so Timsa, so he does have this as a, like what we call a yesh pasuk. Okay. So you will find, oops, sorry, there's no Matsusion. I forgot to mention. Sadigon says, you will find Shapsaim Nasavelis, that naive simpletons inherit the foolishness. Okay. And then Kafich explains, Klomar, that is to say, Asauha Nachalasam, they make it their inheritance, V'enam Bedelim Mimenu, and they do not withdraw from it. V'pikrim, but the clever, Yuchturu Badaas, are crowned with knowledge. Okay, so that is Sadigon. Targum Ksuvim says, Yersun Shavre Shatyusa. So that part's a straight translation. So fools inherit foolishness, but then the uklilahon da'arimae yediasa, and knowledge is the crown of the cunning. Okay, so it says klilahon means their crown, right? Like Khalil, I think. Okay, fine. So there's that. I did not have all my usual translations here. So I got Art School says fools have inherited folly. So they actually preserve the past tense. But the clever are crowned with knowledge. Torah's translation says the simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. And then now I have to say, I can't just say the JPS anymore, because now that the gender sensitive edition of the JPS is out, and that's what everyone is talking about now this week on the internet. I have to include, this is the 1985 version. Folly is the lot of the simple, but clever men glory in knowledge. That's interesting. How do they get that? Glory in knowledge. That was not one of our BDB translations. Okay, and then I kind of skipped over the Malbim. Is this going to be... Oh, this is the Malbim zone theory. So let's forget that for the time being. Okay, so let's now ask our questions here. Yeah. All right, so what are our questions?
I have a question that's not like one of our questions.
Sure.
Just as far as understanding, with the study going on like a yesh pasuk with this time timsa,
yeah,
are both halves here timsa, or it's just whatever
he's
he's
good question. I would assume that both halves are timsa.
Okay.
Yeah, because it would be weird if it said the other way around. You'd have to say Yeah, it would seem to be that it would be two different subjects if it were only limited to the first half. You know,
Okay.
like an England would make a statement like that. We wouldn't say like. I mean, actually, maybe we would. Yeah, but I still think intuitively it makes sense to say that it's on both halves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definition questions of pesi, ivelis, aurum, das.
Right. What are I think we will include them in all. What are the definitions of pesi, ivelis, aurum, the das? Yeah. Okay, so we already defined the pesi. Yeah.
What does it mean to inherit ivelis?
Yeah. What is the I guess what does it mean to inherit foolishness? And like I'm gonna ask, is this literal or figurative? Okay, and you know, I'm tempted to say I don't even know if that's the right way to ask it, but like, you know, people do inherit foolishness. You know, like let's say in terms of whether it's foolishness in decision making, like if you are raised by a parent who behaves foolishly in a certain area, like let's say like, you know, I don't know, whenever
Your parents are bad with money.
yeah, whenever if your parents are bad with money, you're going to inherit that. Or it could be specific foolish ideas. I mean, ideas are passed from one generation to the other. Okay, or is this evoking a specific figurative, like a specific mashal? For example, inheritance is something that you cherish and that you long for, and that like you whatever, like it's using that quality, you know. Yeah. Okay. Similarly, what is the mashal of crown? Okay, or of keter, I should say. What is the meaning of keter? What does it mean by yach tiru da'as? Okay, this according to either to any of the translations. I mean, if it's crowned, then definitely it's a mashal. If it's surrounded by, then that could be, you know, less of a mashal. That could be more literal, like, you know, surrounded by, like they immerse themselves in an environment with lots of knowledge.
What's the situation?
Yeah, I think that's another question here, which is this pasuk situation specific, like Sadigon, or is this a general statement, like Mishlei 14:15?
With Sadigan, is there a difference between a timsa pasuk and a yesh pasuk?
I don't think there is. I don't know why there are two categories, but I don't think there is.
Actually, I just came up with a theory about it.
Yeah.
That timsa would maybe refer to I'd say a more specific situation that, you know, not like the common situation, but sometimes it happens. Opposed to a yesh pasuk would be something where it's like sometimes when the situation happens, sometimes this is how it plays out.
Interesting. All right, yeah. So we'd have to test that, but you know, the distinction holds. Yeah. Okay. I think we have to ask, what are the benefits and consequences? Consequences of either of each side. You know, if the pasuk is even telling us this, because it could easily be that, yeah, throughout the rest of Mishlei, it's obviously, you know, Mishlei deals with the assumption that das is good and ivelis is bad, and maybe our pasuk is only talking about like how they get it.
Another question.
Yeah. Yeah, David.
Okay. What particularly about Aurum made and Petayim? Why are they the specific selections for these? Because I think that there are plenty of people that can highlight Evelet or have the potential to be the ones that are inheriting Evelet. There are plenty of people that are fit to be Yachtir Dot. So what specifically about the Aurum, what specifically about the Peti make them fitting for being here in this pasuk?
I'm going to go ahead and actually just ask this as what is the subject of this pasuk, such that it focuses specifically on the pesi and the Aurum, given that there are lots of Mishleic, you know, Chachamim who seem to be fit to be Tiru Das. Tiru Das. Pesi, I understand. I think, you can see why, even if you don't have a specific idea, you can see why Nachala is more relevant to the pesi than other fools, because the pesi is a passive recipient of knowledge, but I think your question is good for the second half. Okay, yeah, I think we got the questions. Yeah, I'm glad you knocked it all out there. We should start doing that. Sorry, with the definitions. Yeah, Isaac, what's your approach?
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is that you can have, let's say, bad decisions because there's something that like you want to get out of it. Like, let's say, like I know I shouldn't eat that third slice of cheesecake, but I really, really want it,
Yeah.
There's like that type of decision where you're making the bad decision because you're tempted by the like mistake of, whatever the like source of, like the source of the mistake is.
Yeah.
But a person could also, but there's also a phenomenon of something that's a bad decision that was like something that someone else made, and the pesi is kind of inheriting it in like, oh, this is just like the way to handle this type of situation.
Yeah.
Even though it's not something that they want.
Okay.
Like where they're like they're receiving evelis from other people that doesn't even it's not even like tempting them, but because they're pesi, they're not going to think through it, and so like it'll just be their evelis.
Okay, so there are emotion-driven bad decisions in which you're giving into your desire, and there are other bad there are other bad decisions in which you operate on inherited foolishness that meaning that you received a foolish Masorah on how to go about making a decision in a specific area, and you're not even aware that this is foolish, nor are you tempted by any desire. Is that like a accurate? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like let's say credit card debt. Like let's say your parents have had like crazy credit card debt.
Right.
And then the child goes deep into credit card debt, not because they like feel like they need to be spending, but it's like because they're just like, okay, this is just how how it works.
Yeah. Yep.
Like
that's a great example.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's specifically a pesi because the pesi isn't someone who is not analyzing his decision making.
Right.
So like he's gonna inherit it and he's gonna keep it.
All right. I'm gonna even say one step further out. He's not aware of his decision making. Meaning that, let's say, for example, the Ksil will often know that people say you shouldn't, the Torah says you shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do this anyway because blah, blah, blah. But the pes is just like not even like aware that I should be thinking about this as a decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
And this is just like a general question. And also, Isaac, how this applies to what you're saying of the practical application in the audience.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, good. I was actually just thinking about the answer to that. So what is the practical application and audience? Yeah. So here, it's funny. Here, the audience does seem to be Pesayim. Like we can actually say that that's an audience of Mishlei because that is one of the the key audiences in Mishlei in 1:4. Let's say it's the Pesayim Arma to give Pesayim Arma, and this seems to be like doing that. What does the Arumim Yaktiru Das mean?
Yeah. So.
And which translation are you going to go with?
I'm going to say that they're crowned with knowledge.
Okay, I think that's definitely seems to be the mainstream.
Yeah, because I think I'd say for the psi, their decision making is like they not only have their bad decisions, their own bad decisions, they have the bad decisions that they've inherited from others.
Yeah.
Whereas the arum is someone who's, who's like cunning about his decision making, and so his decisions are like his, I'd say most defining positive quality.
Okay.
And so that's why he's like crowned with it.
Are you going with a specific working definition of arum?
Not specific.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead again. I ordinarily wouldn't do this, but because we just had the pasuk about pesi, then I'm going to go ahead and go with my definition of arum, which was reinforced by relearning that pasuk. The arum, i.e., one who sees through the distortions of who recognizes the distorting power of emotions, so he will avoid inheriting these bad decisions because he'll understand, contemplate every step. Okay, that's a reference to Mishlei 14:15. Okay, and now say again, just now that we have this. So, what is the mushal of crown?
Yeah, so it's like I'd say, like pinnacle of his positive qualities.
Okay, and and
it's like his crowning achievement, basically.
Yeah, and his crowning achievement will be the application of knowledge to his decisions. I'm sorry, of knowledge.
You said application of twice.
Oh, sorry, of knowledge to his decisions. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm an executive decision here. Okay, because this, since there are only three of us, then this pasuk got analyzed quicker than usual. David, unless you have a separate approach, David. If not, then let's go to the Mefarshim.
Okay, I mean, I'm thinking of something, but I'm not sure yet. That's different than Isaac. So
you don't have to say it prematurely. We can always chime in later. But
that's what I figure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go to Mefarshim here. Okay. So we have the Metzudas David who says Nachalu Rotalim Ochazim Ivaltam. They cling to their foolishness. Adam Menachalaso, like a person clings to his inheritance. Okay, so that's different than what we're saying. We're saying that they relate to it like an inheritance, in terms of like holding on to it. Yachtiru, so that implies like a greater sense of delusion, right? That it, Isaac's was that they default into it. Okay, Metzudas David is the Pesayim cling to their foolishness, which implies a positive attachment, not just a default sliding into. Okay,
yeah, I think it's kind of like, let's say, like when someone wants to change something in a big organization and they're like, no, because this is we've always done it this way. Right,
exactly. Or like almost every way that any Republican or Democrat makes any decision politically, like that they're a team player and they just voice the same opinions that the rest of their tribe voice, like they're not even, and they're clinging to it tenaciously, like that's the thing,
Yeah. Gotta stick to the party line.
Exactly. Yachtiru is Ochazim Badas, V'osim Osa Keter LaRosham, V'yispa Aruba. Okay, so that's interesting. That's a nice tight muscle here. Okay. Whereas the Arumim cling to their knowledge, which becomes a glorifying crown. Okay, so that's referring to the fact that the results are better, right? The results are superior and recognized. I think that's the I think that's the muscle there, is that being a king is definitely objectively better than not being a king. When I say better, I mean like in terms of like the social hierarchy, but it's also recognized as such. Like there's a kavod to it. There are benefits to being tzaddikim that the tzaddikim understand that they're getting, but it's not perceived by other people. So like in your example about the company, I think whenever you have an innovator in a field or an industry, and they buck the trend, then it is recognized that oh wow, this person innovated. I'll give you an example of this. I know I've given this example before, but leading up to the development of the iPhone, then the most popular device that was similar was Blackberries. And one of the problems with Blackberries is they had a screen and then it was just crammed with buttons, and I think they had people experimenting with a stylus to try to write on the screen, and you had the buttons, and that it was just needlessly complicated. And then Steve Jobs came along and said, God created us with 10 styluses, 5 on each hand, and why should we confine ourselves with predetermined buttons? Why not make a touch screen where you can customize the buttons as needed and eliminate all the ones that you're not using? And then that's when the touch screen came up. So it's like all of these competitors were trying to have the best configuration of the buttons. And then, because that's the way things are done, that's how we make devices. We've always had buttons on devices, and that's how we do it. And Steve Jobs said, no, let's why are we doing it that way? Let's question all of our assumptions. And then he ended up doing something that revolutionized the handheld device field. Okay, let's do Yona. Yona says, Nachlu P'sayim. Yes.
I just have a thought to what Isaac was saying. Maybe, I mean, this is more what I was thinking, but maybe just to tack on to what Isaac had been saying. What he was saying with the Arum, that he'll contemplate every step in his crowning achievement will be the application of knowledge to his decisions. I think that there's both, for someone who's an Arum, a regularity of just slipping into that mindset.
Yeah.
Which, I don't not as much as what sounds to me like a crowning achievement, sounds more like this is what he's known for. Versus if you were to go with more are surrounded by knowledge, I see it as very much being this is just what's constantly every time he's about to go into something, wait, have I experienced a situation like this before? Can I apply something that I already know to the situation? And that sounds to me more like the shiur surrounded by knowledge that he has. Both that, and then also I think even within the crown definition, crown being something that's very out there and stands out, and something that people see, and it's that which almost precedes a person. And if this is a person who knowledge precedes him, then I think that goes to both surrounded and with crown. But I think that also, if a person has a image or is known as being a thinking person, they'll be much more likely to slide into thinking about things because this is who I am.
Right. Okay, that's good. Also, is that crown can also refer to identity, that I make decisions based on knowledge because this is who I am. Yeah, that's good. I also triggered the surrounded by triggered another interpretation, that surrounded by knowledge is the reality. Okay, i.e., everything in the world operates based on knowledge, and that knowledge is ripe for the taking. I don't mean that it's always obvious, but it's always available. And I'd say the Arum recognizes that the streets are paved with gold. Okay, whereas the pesi I think this is a separate idea. I mean, not totally separate, but the pesi is someone who just looks to what he is going to inherit, and doesn't even question the objective value of that inheritance. That's just how people, let's say, I think the obvious example here is in religion. The Navi says, I always forget where this pasuk is, but ach sheker nachalu. Oh, hold on a second. I should quote it. Ach sheker nachal. Let's see. This is in Yirmiyahu 16:19. So it's talking about Avodah Zarah. Hashem uzi umauzi umanusi b'yom tzara. Hashem is my strength and my fortress and my refuge on a day of distress. Elecha goyim yavo'u me'afsei aretz. To you the nations will come from the ends of the earth. V'yomer, they will say, Ach sheker nachlu avosenu. we've only inherited falsehood from fathers, hevel ve'ein ba mo'il, nothingness without any benefit, you know? So that's like the awakening that the non-Jews will have, presumably that's Yemos Mashiach. I don't know the context. So like, I think when it comes to religion, a lot of people think that not only do they cling to what they have received, they think that that is the only way to like form ideas about God or of how the world works. It's just like relying on what they get. Whereas the Arum realized, no, there's a whole world of knowledge out there that we can like draw from. Okay, let's do Rבינו Yona. Rבינו Yona says, Nachlu p'saim ivelis ivaltam hu nachalasam. Their foolishness is their inheritance. Va'aruim yachtiru das. Poel omed mibinyan hifel. Okay, so I always forget poel omed. I forget which one's which. Poel omed is a, and I remember the English, and I okay. What is a poel omed? Is a poel omed intransitive verb? Okay, intransitive verb, which means that it does not have an object. Wait, fine. Intransitive verb. I think without an object. Yeah, they without an object. To look, as in look at the sky. Wait, what? Not taking direct judgment. Okay, yeah. Yeah. This is a bad. Look at this is with an object, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, live, cry, laugh.
Object there.
Yeah. Live, cry, laugh. So it means they. So how is he learning it then? It's intransitive. Maybe klomar yisatru bedas. Oh, that's how he's getting it. They are crowned with knowledge. V'yalu b'gdula b'chachmasam, and they ascend to greatness through their chachma. V'yesh mefarshim. Some say yachtiru das. Him yasimim ataras hod bedas. They place a glory with das. Kihim yichabavu hadas be'enei hanashim v'yifaru osa b'chachmasam. They make das cherished by people in the eyes of people, and they glorify it with their chachma. That's interesting. So they make it. Yeah, I'm just going to do Rבינו Yona. Let's take up that second one. So Rבינו Yona, second interpretation is they glorify knowledge in the eyes of others with their chachma. Yeah, that is like I was saying for Metzudas David, I think, but this is putting a different emphasis, like saying that is the purpose of it. You know, that's what the pasuk is pointing out. You know, Metzudas David, I think you could read it that it's a benefit and it's public, but this is like, you know, they're publicizing it. All right, let's look at them. Oh, Meiri learns it with the next one. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if this is me just like injecting this into what he was saying right there. But I do know that there is a reality of people being drawn after other people, and in our room, and being smart, someone who recognizes that can then use their own like people draw to they themselves, be it through charisma or other things, and then have people get drawn after them, and they can really just kind of like shift that and reframe that to being particularities about them. So like, oh, you like me? Well, it's really because of chokhmah that's coming from me, and it's not like me myself or things like that. And then from there, I think then they can bring a greater draw to chokhmah. And I mean, I think it's just also incredibly beneficial if you can convince someone that the reason why you're successful or you are whatever the thing that this person is admiring is because of chokhmah, then they'll be more drawn to chokhmah, and then that'll just be something that nicely builds on itself.
Okay, that's good. And what I wrote here is I think it's a good contrast with the pesi. People are drawn after things and the people who possess them. So whereas the pesi is passively drawn after others into foolishness, the arum draws others to himself through chachma and causes them to emulate, or I guess, and entices them to emulate him, his way of decision making.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds to me a little different than what I was saying. I don't know if this
okay, sure. What were you saying again?
Specific or not? Okay, I was saying that he'll that he'll be like attributing the cause of whatever these people are liking and saying it's the chokhmah that you like, it's not me that you like. I think he is doing it through chokhmah, which is what it sounds to me like you were saying. He's doing it through chokhmah, which I agree with. But to me, I was taking like one other thing and saying that he's specifically pointing them toward chokhmah, not just doing it through chokhmah.
So the arum takes the public admiration of his success, and instead of crediting it, or I guess instead of allowing them to credit it to other factors, he points to his crown of knowledge and says that this is the cause and you can get it too.
Yeah, that's much more what I was thinking. I also think, just as another side thing, it works well for somebody when it's not all about me, but it's actually like, I'm not that great as you think. I think it's also like a good helpful thing, but I know it's not exactly what's being done here.
Yeah, definitely. And look, who did this best? Shlomo. Shlomo Melech does this in Mishlei. Yeah. Okay, let's do Rabag.
He's a walking Chachma advertisement.
Exactly, yeah, definitely. So they inherit foolishness because they don't analyze the ways and how to get to it. They will just quickly be seduced by this person. The Chachamim will wait until they find knowledge. They will investigate with tremendous patience and deliberation until they understand what is fit to do. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. So he must be learning you have to wait, right? Like they wait for it. It's talking about patience. So I'm just going to make a note of this to myself. Is the Rambam says that the Chachamim wait patiently until their analysis is complete, instead of rushing into it like a pesi without analysis. Yeah. Let's do one more. I don't want to do the Malbim because he's going to have such a specific thing. Let's look at the Holy Moshe. Nachalu, Shem Nachala Mishamish Kama Pami Batanach Lahoras Davar Yakar Ha'erech. So Nachalu is used many times throughout Tanakh to indicate something that is precious of value. Ki halo yadua kamo yakar biyoser be'enei ha'adam ma shenachal me'avosav mima shekanalo hu ba'atzmo. Because it's known that a person treasures what he inherits from his parents more than what he acquires on his own. It's interesting. You can see it both ways. Im kain inyan ha'pasuk kach pisam yodiu l'rabim. Ivaltam. They make this, they advertise it to the masses, their foolishness. Iluhu davar yakar, as if it's something precious. But the Chachamim, the Arumim consider das to be the thing that crowns them. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Let's do this Shadal. No, there's no Shadal. All right, maybe we'll do the Malbim really quickly. Okay, yeah, sure. So remember, Ivelis in Malbim lingo means, let's look at his biur hamilos. Mudalim min haksilim ve'ivilim. So psaim are different from the ksil and the evil. Shavil mamti ha'ivelis v'hasveikos belibo. The evil, he learns, is a skeptic, someone who has doubts in his heart, produces doubts in his heart. V'ksil aimbo ivelis. The ksil does not have skepticism or doubt. Raksha oches be'ivelis b'mirma, but he self-deceptively clings onto ivelis, like we explained above, which means he does it in order to satisfy his desires. Well, but the pesi receives the ivelis from someone else and is seduced by it. He inherits something from someone else. So he says, we've explained in 14:15 that the pesi believes everything. And he will be seduced by the ksilim and the evilim. Yona pota, like a seducible dove. I'll let David talk about the accuracy of that later. He will accept, or he will receive the ivelis, the skepticism and the doubts, in a way of inheritance. Like someone who inherits from others. So too he will accept it from the evilim. He won't know it and he won't discern it at all. So that's an example of this, is like all the kids who are teenagers now, who are having any sorts of problems with the hashkafa, they just inherit questions from the atheists and the scientists and the anti-religious people around them. They're not coming up with questions on their own. Most of them, they're just like how do you know that blah blah blah, like, and they'll just parrot it. And they think that they're thinking of the questions, but they're really just like inheriting it. They will test everything, and they will not do anything until they know clearly what it is and why Even if they're not chachamim and nevonim, they will be crowned with knowledge. Hadas hu keta l'rosham umuchtar mehem lo yasu below das. Yeah, so that's interesting. So in other words, even if they don't have the knowledge to understand the thing, they're gonna lead with their knowledge. I don't know how he's learning keter, but yeah. Okay, I'm going to summarize this on my own because I know shiur's over. So I think what we should do is I'm going to take a survey and see who is going to come tomorrow. And I'm going to look at the pasuk, the next pasuk, and see if it's doable in one day. I wouldn't mind having Q&A if people want Q&A. And if the pasuk is doable, we can do it. Or if people aren't coming, then that's also fine because I'm, trying to spend maximum time with my dad. So I'll just put the survey in the chat and we'll see what happens. Okay.
Sounds good.
I'm glad you guys came though. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm expecting to come.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. I'm glad you sent that GIF because I was gonna head out the door.
That
and
is exactly why I did it, because I wanted to catch people's attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Have a good day, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Bye. Yeah, bye.